Last time on True Fear, I told you about my creepy experiences with the Hobo King. If you haven't seen that episode, I'll leave a link so you can go see it. I've also been talking with more people who used to live at that building who saw my Hobo King video, and I've come across some new information and horror stories. So if you'd like to see a part 2 to that video, leave a like and let me know in the comments. So basically we had to flee the apartment as it became unlivable due to the bugs. They were supposed to treat our apartment right away, but they cared about money a lot more than the well-being of their tenants. And that is today's horror story. No, but when that happened, we found ourselves hotel hopping for a while. As mentioned in episode 2, it was student housing, so the school would put us up in these nearby hotels. I know that sounds cool, like some awesome Zac and Cody shit, but the apartment complex manager kept lying about when they would actually be treating our apartment, so the school kept putting us in these hotels for one day at a time. And different hotels would fill up on different days, so we had to move to a different hotel almost every night, and it just got to the point where it was exhausting. Couple that with the fact that we were in classes and had our own lives to deal with and had to constantly fight with the apartment management to get our unit fixed, and the whole hotel thing wasn't a lot of fun. It was also kind of a health detriment. We didn't have a kitchen to cook in, nor did we have any place that we could store food, and we had to go out and get fast food all of the time. And that's where this story begins, at an extended stay America in Woodland Hills, California. So I had gotten out of class and checked into the hotel, and I was feeling pretty hungry, so I decided to go out and find somewhere that I could get food. In the hotel, there's all these super long hallways, and our room was at the end of the last hallway. So I'm headed out of there, and I see this door partially open at the end of one of the halls, and this older woman standing in the dark. So I think, oh, she must be getting ready to go out and leave her room. Well, turns out I was right, in a way. Once I get closer, she walks out of the room, and she's standing in the hallway. It seems like she's looking at me, but when I saw her eyes, it was more like she was looking past me or looking through me at something. Like her head was pointed in my direction, but it's almost like she didn't see me at all. She was in her own world. And in this world of hers, there was a ghost standing just past where I was. I know it's hard to picture, but that's the best way I can really describe it. So that was unsettling, but not as unsettling as what would come next. The voice. It was like something out of a horror movie. And what she said didn't make it any better. Now, I don't remember her exact words, so I'm just paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of, "Why, hello, Gerald. Why don't you come in and have some supper? Make you some supper." And then she actually started laughing. And meanwhile, I just didn't even think about responding to any of this. I just kept walking and never looked back. She kept talking as I walked away, but I didn't hear her. So yeah, that was one of the creepier things I'd ever seen, but I guess it could have been like a prank or something, or maybe she had a Bluetooth on that I didn't see maybe. I was honestly just trying to come up with an excuse for my own comfort at that point. But after that, I went out, got some food, and came back. And at that point, I had pretty much forgotten about it all, but then I turned into that hallway again, and what do I see? In the same exact spot where the woman had wandered out before, there was a police officer taking down some notes, and the door that the woman came out of was open and the place was cleared out. I never found out what happened that night while I was getting food, but I still do wonder if I had just been lucky to have not been a victim. Clearly, something went down while I was gone, and it was big enough to get the cops called and start an investigation. What stuck with me more than anything was the look in that woman's eye. She just looked so hollow. After thinking more about the situation, I came up with the theory that she was having some kind of flashback in her head, possibly a trauma-induced reaction. What led me to this theory? Well, first, I want to analyze why she was even staying at this hotel. This isn't in like a touristy part of LA. It's at least 30 minutes away from the beach, 30 minutes away from Universal, and 45 minutes away from Hollywood. So that left me with two likely possibilities. She's visiting family, or there's something wrong at home, causing her to have to stay in the hotel, the same reason that I was technically staying there. Based on her behavior, I've decided to explore the latter, as that seems more likely to me. We have very little to go off of in this situation, really just what she said, which unfortunately I don't remember it perfectly word for word. This was before I started doing True Fear, so I didn't think to write it down or anything, but I think her dialogue does offer some possible clues as to what was going on. So first, there's this character Gerald, who she seemed to be talking to. Based on the way that she was talking to him and the fact that she asked him to come in for supper, Gerald may have been her husband or possibly her son. At the beginning of the interaction, she seemed kind of surprised to see Gerald, so I took this as they had been apart for some time, and Maybe she was daydreaming or hallucinating about seeing him again. That's why I think this may have been trauma-related in some way. For example, if Gerald was her husband, I get the sense that he hurt her and abandoned her in some way, causing her to fall into a deep depression and replay the idea that she has in her head of when they would see each other again. This idea is supported by the fact that she starts laughing. This leads me to believe that in her head, Gerald responded to her and said something that she found funny. This would also explain why she was waiting in the hotel room and came out when she saw me. It wouldn't be so different from when you see a dog waiting by the window for their master to return. If she truly did have some kind of traumatic experience with Gerald, it's possible that this was just her way of dealing with it. I'm no expert on the human brain, but if we do go with the story about the woman in Gerald, I shudder to think about what may have caused her to get kicked out of the hotel and the cops called. I really have nothing to go on here, but my gut tells me that her perceived reunion with Gerald may not have gone that well and possibly brought up some repressed scars. Again, I have no actual idea what went down, but I imagine a delusional old woman screaming and crying at an unseen presence in the middle of a hall one night would have scared some of the hotel guests and staff. The fact that she was removed from the room tells me that she may have even gotten violent towards one of the other guests. If me simply walking by was enough to trigger delusions of the past, imagine what danger someone trying to calm her down might have been in. That's it for this episode of True Fear, but you won't want to miss out on the next one, where I'll be telling you about the gunman on my subway train.
Black belt wearing a break shirt, black shorts.
This is going to be the most intense episode yet, and I actually have some pretty scary raw footage of what went on that day. So if you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe to CZsWorld. We've got new horrors every other week, so ring that death bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Assuming we both survive.